They told you masturbation was harmless at any age. But what if that belief doesn't always hold true once you cross 70? One man discovered this the hard way. He passed away alone in his bathtub, clutching his chest only minutes after what was supposed to be a quiet, private moment of relief. Sadly, his case isn't unique. I'm Dr. Jason Hale, a men's health specialist with more than 6 decades of experience supporting older men in preserving vitality, intimacy, and overall well-being. Over the years, I've worked with thousands of elderly males across the country, and what I uncovered may surprise you. While self-pleasure can indeed be soothing, even restorative, in younger years, it has the potential to become risky if approached carelessly in advanced age. The very habits that once brought release may now be silently draining your strength, stressing your prostate, disturbing your sleep, or affecting your circulation, often without you realizing it. In this video, I'll guide you through 5 common masturbation mistakes that older men often make, and more importantly, how to avoid them so that this aspect of life remains healthy, empowering, and safe. Stay with me until the end, because I'll also share a simple self-care method that you can begin today to protect your health, restore pleasure, and regain peace of mind, without needing any prescription. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to press the button and hit the bell icon so you never miss health tips created specifically for you. And if you find value in this video, please type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0. And let me know how I can improve the content for you. Now, let's begin. The danger isn't always about sudden, dramatic events. Often, it starts with the smallest, most overlooked habits. Mistake 1: ignoring the body's new limits. As men age, their bodies undergo subtle yet significant changes. After 70, the heart, blood vessels, nervous system, and even skin sensitivity don't respond the same way they once did. Unfortunately, many older men continue to pleasure themselves with the same intensity, speed, or pressure they relied on decades earlier, unaware that this can place unnecessary strain on their aging systems. Overly vigorous or rushed self-pleasure can be physically taxing, sometimes leading to dizziness, a racing heartbeat, or muscle cramps. While these reactions might seem minor, repeated overexertion during masturbation can gradually damage the cardiovascular system, especially in men already dealing with conditions like hypertension, diabetes, or heart disease. Another often overlooked factor is the role of pelvic floor muscles during climax. When these muscles are strained or overused, they may become tight and fatigued, leading to urinary issues, groin discomfort, or even incontinence in more severe cases. Doctors increasingly urge older men to approach this stage of life with wisdom and patience and self-respect. Masturbation at this age should feel less like a test of performance and more like a celebration of sensation. It is no longer about speed, force, or endurance. Instead, it's about slowing down, reconnecting with your body, and supporting your long-term health. Gentle touch, a slower pace, and a calm environment can enhance pleasure while safeguarding your body. Incorporating deep breathing, maintaining good posture, and taking breaks when needed can reduce risks while enriching the overall experience. This chapter of life offers the chance to redefine pleasure. Listening to your body rather than fighting against it is not weakness, it's wisdom. You're not less of a man for slowing down. In fact, by embracing this change, you may find deeper sensitivity, richer experiences, and greater fulfillment. The real danger lies in forcing yourself to perform as you once did, ignoring what your body is clearly telling you. Respect its signals, because they are guiding you towards safer, more meaningful pleasure. But of course, the physical side is only part of the story. What about the psychological and emotional impact of this habit? The next mistake is far less visible, yet it can slowly rewire the brain, reduce joy, dull intimacy, and even impair memory. Let's explore that next. In today's digital age, pornography is more accessible, fast-paced, and stimulating than ever before. For younger men, the brain still has enough adaptability to recover from regular exposure to such content. But for older men, especially those over 70, the risks are far greater. Excessive reliance on porn can gradually reshape how the brain processes intimacy, arousal, and pleasure. Many seniors, often unknowingly, turn to internet pornography without considering how it may affect their aging minds and bodies. Whenever the brain experiences sexual stimulation, it releases dopamine, the pleasure chemical. But when that stimulation comes too often and in highly intense artificial forms, the brain begins to adapt. It eventually demands stronger and more extreme stimuli to achieve the same level of satisfaction, creating a cycle of diminishing returns. Over time, this leads to dopamine desensitization, a state where real-life intimacy, tender touch, or even meaningful conversation no longer provide the same joy they once did. What used to feel fulfilling now feels flat, dull, or unsatisfying. For older men, whose natural hormone levels are already declining, this effect can be even more damaging. With reduced hormonal support, the brain's ability to regulate emotional highs and lows becomes fragile. Continued exposure to artificial, high-intensity sexual imagery can also impair memory, concentration, and mood. Some men even report heightened irritability, anxiety, or restlessness when pornography becomes their main outlet, especially if they use it as a substitute for dealing with loneliness, sadness, or boredom. What begins as a seemingly private, harmless practice can slowly drain mental clarity and emotional balance. Health professionals strongly recommend replacing overstimulating porn with gentler, more age-appropriate alternatives. Erotic literature, softer visual imagery, or simply drawing upon one's imagination can trigger healthy arousal without overwhelming the brain's reward system. This adjustment often results in more profound, satisfying self-exploration, while preventing the fatigue and burnout caused by overstimulation. It's not about abandoning pleasure. It's about reclaiming it in a form that strengthens health instead of weakening it. Pornography designed for younger audiences rarely reflects the experiences, desires, or emotional depth of older adults. This disconnect can leave older men feeling inadequate, frustrated, or even ashamed when comparing themselves to unrealistic depictions on screen. In reality, the problem isn't within them. It's the inappropriateness of the content for their stage of life. Being intentional and selective about what you consume can have a powerful effect on how you feel about yourself, your desires, and your capacity for pleasure. The true goal isn't constant stimulation. It's lasting contentment, peace, and connection with yourself and with life. But stimulation alone isn't the whole story. There's another risk lurking silently inside the body, particularly for aging men. If overlooked, it can gradually lead to severe long-term harm. Let's now turn our focus to that. As men advance into their 70s and beyond, one part of the body demands greater care than ever before: the prostate. This small gland, often overlooked in youth, plays a vital role in reproductive and urinary health. Yet many older men continue their sexual habits, including masturbation, without considering the changes happening within their prostate. This negligence can result in irritation, inflammation, and, in some cases, far more serious complications. A common condition that appears with age is benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH, in which the prostate naturally enlarges. This growth can place pressure on the bladder, disrupt urine flow, and lead to frustrating symptoms such as urgency, difficulty starting urination, or repeated nighttime trips to the bathroom. Despite this, many elderly men don't realize that certain masturbation practices, like applying too much pressure, repeatedly delaying ejaculation, or rushing through the act, can further irritate the prostate and pelvic region. Over time, these behaviors may lead to chronic pelvic pain, heightened inflammation, and in some cases even mask early warning signs of more serious prostate conditions. Some men mistakenly believe that holding back or forcing ejaculation will improve stamina. In reality, it only creates unnecessary strain on the pelvic floor muscles and surrounding nerves, compounding stress on the already sensitive prostate area. The result is often more discomfort, longer recovery times, and reduced satisfaction rather than improved performance. This is particularly risky for men who already struggle with prostatitis or a history of urinary tract infections. For them, carelessness during masturbation can intensify existing problems. Medical professionals recommend that older men approach self-pleasure with patience, caution, and full awareness of how their body responds. Gentle touch, allowing sufficient arousal time, and completing release without unnecessary strain are key. Most importantly, any persistent pelvic pain, changes in semen or fluid, traces of blood, or disruptions in urination should never be ignored. These might not seem urgent in the moment, but they could be early indicators of deeper health concerns developing silently. When done thoughtfully, masturbation can still support prostate health by promoting circulation and helping flush out old fluid. The difference lies in adopting a new mindset, one based on awareness rather than habit. Your body may not be what it was at 30, but it remains strong, capable, and deserving of careful attention. While the physical risks are easier to identify, the psychological reasons behind why men cling to old habits can be far more complicated. The next mistake doesn't just drain the body, it weighs down the spirit as well. Let's take a closer look. In later life, mental and emotional well-being become just as important, if not more so, than physical health. For many older men, especially those living alone or having lost a partner, masturbation can take on a role far beyond physical release. It can become a way to escape silence, numb feelings of loneliness, or cope with stress, sadness, and isolation. There is nothing inherently wrong with seeking comfort in your own body, but there's a fine line between healthy self-care and using physical release as a substitute for emotional healing. When masturbation is done primarily to cover up feelings of emptiness or grief, it loses its purpose as a pleasurable and restorative experience. Instead, it risks becoming a mechanical habit driven by sadness, habit, or anxiety, rather than true desire. Over time, this shift can dull the emotional benefits of the act. In some cases, it may even lead to emotional numbness, where the act feels hollow and meaningless. Some men report feeling more isolated or detached afterward, particularly if masturbation is being used to avoid facing deeper emotional wounds. Ironically, what is intended to ease loneliness may actually worsen it, making it harder to seek genuine companionship, nurture new bonds, or even enjoy casual social interactions. The real issue isn't the act itself, it's the motivation behind it. When self-pleasure stems from boredom, irritation, or grief, it becomes less about joy and more about escape. The comfort it provides is temporary, fading quickly and often leaving behind a lingering emptiness. Unfortunately, this emotional pattern is rarely discussed openly among older men, many of whom were raised in times when emotional needs were not acknowledged, let alone expressed. Yet the truth remains, emotional hunger can never be fully satisfied through physical release alone. Doctors and therapists advise paying attention to your inner motivations. When you find yourself turning to masturbation not out of desire, but out of routine, or to avoid uncomfortable feelings, that's a red flag. Ask yourself, am I doing this because it brings me joy or because I don't want to feel something else? This single question can spark a powerful new level of self-awareness. Sometimes the solution lies in simple changes, taking a walk outside, reaching out to a friend, or revisiting an old hobby. These small acts of connection can feed the heart in ways that physical release alone cannot. The goal at this stage of life isn't to eliminate masturbation, it's to reclaim it as something positive, nourishing, and meaningful. Your emotional health matters just as much as your physical well-being. Self-pleasure should never feel like a substitute for what's missing. Instead, it should feel like an enhancement of what is already whole. But even when the emotions are understood, another hidden problem remains, one that impacts both body and mind. This issue isn't about how you feel, but what you expect. Let's move on to the next mistake: performance anxiety and ignoring erectile dysfunction. As men grow older, changes in sexual function are common, though not always welcomed. For many men over 70, erections may not be as firm, may take longer to develop, or may not last as long as they once did. This is a normal part of aging. Unfortunately, many men interpret these changes as signs of failure rather than as natural shifts in biology. As a result, they begin using masturbation as a test of performance instead of as a source of pleasure. When this happens, the focus shifts from enjoyment to worry. Can I still get an erection? How long will it last? Am I taking too much time? Instead of savoring the experience, men find themselves caught in self-criticism and fear. This turns what should be a relaxing, affirming act into one fueled by anxiety and self-doubt. The problem goes beyond the psychological. Performance anxiety triggers the release of cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. Cortisol and sexual arousal are direct opposites. The more cortisol in the system, the harder it becomes to relax and respond normally. What may start as a small concern can spiral into a recurring cycle of frustration, stress, and disappointment. Over time, this repeated stress response makes erections even more difficult to achieve, deepening the cycle. The dangerous part is that many men suffer in silence. They avoid speaking to doctors, hide their worries from loved ones, or even deny the problem to themselves out of shame. But the truth is clear. These changes do not diminish masculinity. They are simply the body's natural evolution. Recognizing them and adapting with grace is far healthier than fighting against them. The good news is that there are ways to support sexual health without shame or pressure. Masturbation should be viewed as a form of self-care, not a performance exam. It doesn't matter how long it lasts or how hard the erection is. What matters is how you feel during the process. By removing judgment, men allow their bodies to respond more freely and naturally. And when issues go beyond stress, such as persistent erectile dysfunction, changes in ejaculation, or unusual symptoms, it is not weakness to seek medical help. In fact, it is one of the strongest steps a man can take to improve confidence, health, and peace of mind. Performance does not define a man. Presence does. As the years pass, what matters most is connection, comfort, and honesty with oneself. Your body may age, but your ability to experience joy, intimacy, and peace remains fully intact. Now that we've covered the 5 most common mistakes older men make when it comes to masturbation, one crucial question remains. What practical steps can you take today to ensure safe, fulfilling, and healthy practices that enhance your overall well-being? Let's answer that next. Aging does not put an end to intimacy. It reshapes and refines it. By now you've seen how unconscious habits around masturbation can, over the age of 70, quietly harm physical health, mental clarity, and emotional balance. But this is not a message of shame. It is a message of wisdom. You are not broken. You are evolving. And with this evolution comes an opportunity to rediscover pleasure with more care, more meaning, and more honesty than ever before. Masturbation at an older age should not be about performance or escape. It should be about celebrating life, embracing presence, and honoring dignity. Through gentle touch, mindful intention, and emotional awareness, what once felt like routine can transform into a deeply therapeutic practice. You have earned the right to experience intimacy in this way, calmly, purposefully, and without harm. The key is to listen to your body, break free from outdated habits, allow yourself to slow down, breathe deeply, and savor the richness of sensation without rushing or forcing. By respecting your body's current needs, you protect your health, while at the same time opening yourself up to greater depth, sensitivity, and fulfillment. Because intimacy does not vanish with age. It becomes richer, deeper, and more profound when guided by awareness. At this stage of life, it is not about proving strength, but about nurturing connection and peace. And always remember, when no one else talks about these realities, we will, because your health and happiness matter. You still deserve connection in every sense of the word. You've now discovered the 5 most common mistakes older men make when it comes to masturbation, along with practical ways to avoid them. Remember, this stage of life is not about losing intimacy. It's about redefining it with wisdom and care. Masturbation, when approached thoughtfully, can remain a healthy, empowering, and deeply fulfilling part of your life. The key is to listen to your body, respect its new rhythms, and free yourself from outdated habits that no longer serve you. Intimacy is not gone. It has simply matured. It now carries the potential to be richer, calmer, and more meaningful than it ever was before. So celebrate your body. Embrace this chapter with dignity and confidence. And never forget, connection, pleasure, and peace are still yours to enjoy. If you found this message helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with another man who could benefit from it, because it's never too late to take control of your health and happiness. Thank you for watching. We're glad you're here, and remember, this conversation doesn't end today. Stay with us, because your journey toward vitality and joy is still unfolding.